Hey guys, glad you could join me for another video in this basic networking course. Today we're going to be covering port security. So port security helps us control who can directly connect to our switch. And often the best port security is just to shut down any unused ports. So we do have a list of new commands to go through. So let's hop into our switch over here and do a little demo. The first command that we have is switch port port-security. This is going to enable port security on the chosen port. So if we get into global configuration mode, hop into port F01, we issue that switch port port-security. That has essentially enabled port security on that port with the default values. Now we want to change some of those. The next command, switch port port-security MAC-address sticky. This would auto-learn the MAC addresses that connect to this port rather than specifying specific ones. If you did want to specify a specific one, instead of the word sticky, you would just put the MAC address of the device that you want to allow to connect on that port. So here we can go switch port, port security, MAC address, sticky. And that will allow that port to dynamically learn MAC addresses that connect to it. Now obviously we don't just want anybody to be able to switch out our connections and keep connecting different computers, so the next command, switch port port-security maximum followed by a number, will set the number of different MAC addresses that we're going to allow this port to learn or connect to it. So here, switch port port-security maximum, we'll just say 1. Up next we have switch port port-security violation, and we can specify protect, restrict, or shut down. This is going to specify what action to take if an unauthorized device connects to the port. So for our case in this demo, we'll go ahead and issue switch port port-security violation shut down. That means if an unauthorized device connects to the port and tries to send traffic, we will shut that port down. Next command we have show port-security. This is going to display a brief overview of which ports have port security set, as well as their violation mode. So if we hop back to privileged exec mode to issue a show command, we can do show port security. We can see our port F01 has port security enabled, and its security action or violation mode is shut down. Next we have show port-security followed by a specific interface. This is going to display more specific details about the port security setting on an interface. We can demo that here. Show port security interface F01. And here we see some more detailed information, including who has connected to this port and the MAC addresses that have. Next we have clear port-security followed by all dynamic or sticky to clear the configured port security MAC addresses that have been learned on a port. And then our last command that's not specific to port security but is very useful is interface range followed by a range of interfaces. This allows us to configure multiple interfaces at one time. This is useful if we're going to be configuring them all with the same things, like if we're going to go in and shut down a bunch of interfaces. We don't want to have to enter each one individually. In global configuration mode, an example of this would be interface range F02 through 24, and now you can see our prompt tells us that we're configuring a range of interfaces, and we could enter the shutdown command, and that affected all those interfaces and shut them down. So that was a really quick introduction to port security. In the next video, we'll go ahead and hop into a lab and see this in action. I hope that you'll join us. I hope that you got something out of this video. And if nothing else, I would recommend you go to the link in the description below to download this lab for your notes and to practice on your own. We'll see you in the next video.